30 hours a week as an intensive therapy program. There'll be multiple RBTs working with that child on that child's caseload. So you have a school-age kid that is mainstreamed into a regular classroom that has services. We have some of those now that either on modified school days, meaning that they go to the public schools for an hour and a half or 3 hours a day, and then the school system actually buses them and drops them off at Oakmont currently for therapies. So they might go to public school till 11 o'clock, and then 11:30 they're dropped off at ACES and stay there till 4 for their parents to pick them up. So it kind of varies depending on the child, and that's with the ABA therapy. Now the other services, consultative services, those are parent trainings. So we encourage parent involvement. So we'll have a space where the parents can come, after hours when the parents can get off work and talk about what we're doing in the clinic to help their child, and the parents can talk about what is going on in the home and making sure that what the therapists are doing in the clinic is incorporated into the home as well, because research has shown, hey, it can't be just done in one place. It's got to be throughout the child's daily environment, wherever they're at. So in the clinic, in the home, in the schools, we want to make sure that all that meshes together. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you anticipate like field trips, different things like that, where they leave the campus?
I would like to one day. Social outings where the kids can go and go to the museum or do social stuff. With other, I think a unique opportunity, and we haven't had any discussions with them, but a unique opportunity is maybe partnering with the school that would be next door to us. These kids, I'm a father with a child with autism. I've seen it firsthand how my son has learned from his peers, and I think it's important not only the services we provide, but raising awareness, to this disability, that hey, yeah, these individuals are different, but they're made in God's image, and these other individuals that are fortunate that don't have the medical problems that some of these children with autism have, that they embrace it, and they learn to embrace others that are different. So that's a very important part of what we do, and we want to raise awareness and impact others in the community.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
How many children will be coming? Do you know now?
Well, we're kind of maxed out right now at Oakmont. We're right at 30 kids in our preschool wing. We've got 4 BCBAs. Typically, BCBAs, their caseload is around 15 to 18 kids. So we've got 4 BCBAs now. You're looking at 60 kids that they can see on one caseload, and that'd be all at one time at ACES. We see this, in 10 years, impacting over 150 kids. And that could vary. Some of that would, all of them wouldn't come every day. Some of them would. Kind of depend on the child and their, situation and their needs on the spectrum.
Well, how many classrooms would you? I guess you'd call them classrooms.
Well, like in our clinic space, we currently have 24 one-on-one rooms planned for it. 24. So basically, yeah. Now, with that doesn't mean that you can't see more than 24 kids at one time, because the therapy rooms, some of them, 2 to 3 kids could be assigned to that room. But not only would there be therapy rooms in this facility, there would be social skill rooms, where it would be larger rooms where there would be activities where you'd be teaching social skills with more than one kid at one time, but their one-on-one would be with them, helping them, teaching them those social skills.
Right. Well, another thing, do you have like a playground? Would you have like
Yes,
an
ma'am.
outside
Yes,
thing
ma'am.
for them?
Yes, ma'am. There would be an outside area, open area with the playground. Yes, ma'am.
I did have a question. Is there ever, or is there currently a plan, maybe in the long range, of anything residential? Or all of this is, I guess, day treatment or daycare? Not daycare in terms of child care, but you come as a typical school day and you go home?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. That's our plans with this is obviously the clinic space. We would like to have eventually a non-traditional school piece where those that are severely autistic that, you know, can only go to school for an hour and a half, that they could have an alternate choice where they can come all day to ACES and get an education that way as well. But that's kind of where we're at. I think as a parent, I think that is something that is needed. That in our society is more opportunities for adults. But at this point, you know, we're trying to accomplish this, and maybe 10 years down the road, maybe I'll be coming back to you requesting another piece of property to have some adult services.
So that's a no.
No.
That's a
Yes,
no.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I have another question. You said this would be for Eastern North Carolina. How many counties does that incorporate? Are you set by county or?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got, like I said, we've got our farthest child currently comes from Gates County. So that's a wide range. We have children come from Washington, New Bern. We've actually, a unique thing, we've actually had 2 families recently relocate from Rocky Mount to Greenville for services. They started out with ACES. They saw how it was impacting their child, and they're like, hey, we can't do the community anymore, so they actually moved closer to be to ACES. So we see this as not only an opportunity to impact these kids, but for more families to move to Winterville in this area for services.
Now, you kind of touched on this, but with the continued success and growth, do you anticipate expanding the building or asking for more area in the future?
More.
And do you have space to accommodate?
Yeah, and Brian.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
kind of speak to that. So with this acreage, they've got plenty of space to feel like they're extremely sparsely populated at this point with kind of what they're planning on wanting to build. And obviously plans are fantastic, but the real part of it is it takes a lot of money to start building buildings and brick and mortar and parking lots, much less purchase real estate to put it on. So initially, a lot like you see Christ Covenant School, that kind of looks like a little island in a big piece of property.
Mm-hmm.
It'll have a lot of that same feel. The thought process is to set it up, at least from a planning perspective, as we look at what will this property facilitate, to say, okay, here's where we think this could go one day. Doesn't mean it will, but who knows? So the short answer is yes, there's plenty of real estate here for the therapeutic side, the potential little bit more traditional feeling school side of things to house all of that.
Okay.
Excuse me. Okay, the clinic. Okay. Will you have a doctor there at all times? You have a doctor?
Well, in the plans, there's the BCBAs, or the Board Certified Behavior Analysts. They're the ones that are certified by a national board that will write up the treatment plans for the kids. We currently do not, but we currently, if we get this land and build a building so we can provide more services, is providing a diagnostic piece, which would be a doctoral level licensed psychologist that could actually help with the diagnosis piece. So basically, it'd be a one-stop shop. The pediatrician, refers them to ACES. They get right now we have families, pediatricians call us all the time, hey, do you guys do diagnostic work? And we're like, no, we don't have a building of our own to do that. But that's something we want to provide in the future, where they can come get the diagnostic piece and then they can start the therapies right in the same building. So it'd be a one-stop shop.
Right. So they have to be referred from a doctor to come?
They have to have an official diagnosis of autism. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. So, and the way insurance is and Medicaid is, long story, like your pediatrician down the road, like Louie Bradshaw, I've got a great relationship with her. If she writes up, hey, child's got autism, insurance Medicaid will not accept that. It has to be done by a licensed psychologist level. So basically what's happening now is a lot of times we get referrals, and then we're calling licensed psychologists, you know, all over really, even up into Durham, to try to get kids in for a diagnostic evaluation, because the wait list here in Eastern North Carolina is over 2 years, which is a major problem, with research showing the earlier the diagnosis, the better the outcome. I know firsthand, our son, we knew, you know, a little bit after a year that something wasn't right, and autism started being brought up. 18 months we went in, and they said, hey, well, you know, he can come back after he's 3, and he'll be on the wait list. Sometime after 3, he'll get the diagnosis. And we were like, we're not waiting, you know, because that's valuable time that these children are missing out on. So that diagnostic piece is very important.
Okay, so the medical staff will be the teachers that deal with these children?
No. There's 2 components. The first component that we really want to, that will be the first service that we offer here. We do have plans to have a non-traditional school piece, which would be, you know, licensed teachers that would be involved in that component. But it would be board certified behavior analysts. They go through a national board, licensing board, just like a doctor or anybody else would. You would have a licensed psychologist, you know, on staff. Those would be kind of your top tier professionals at the clinic. They would be the ones making the clinical decisions, writing up the treatment plans, giving recommendations, you know, talking to teachers and parents, and finding out what difficulties the child is having outside of the clinic, so that they can work and frame their programs and goals for what the child needs.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions from the board? Any more public comment, Terry?
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. Need a motion from the board to approve or disapprove the rezoning request?
I make a motion that we table this until the next meeting. The original agenda that we received in the mail discussed going from agricultural residential to O&I, and listed the Harrises as being the sellers. But as I recall, I don't recall seeing any mention of ACEs for Autism. And
So,
while I'm
so
not
let me
against
clarify.
that, I
So-
think we need time to
So before,
absorb it and investigate it a little bit more.
if you'll allow me, Ms. Clyburn, so the application came from ACEs for Autism. So the applicant themselves is ACEs for Autism. The property owner still on the application is the Harris family. So the sale to ACEs for Autism is contingent upon this all going smoothly. So, and I do want to be clear. So with all the details they provided, it's all well and fine. The more details they want to provide, the more details they can, and the more you guys want to hear, the more you can hear. But I want to be clear, what we're doing, what your main role here is to decide whether or not O&I is an acceptable zone for that piece of property. Staff feels it is. If you're looking at the land use plan, the transition from that commercial down to O&I, down to residential is a smooth transition, is what is referred to in the land use plan. So that's exactly what we want to see. We want to see that type of transitional use from high intensity to low intensity. Exactly what you're getting at a crossroads. It works perfectly with what the planning world wants to see. So that's why you'll see, that's why I said staff recommends approval of it. And I hope I answered your question. I hope I clarified it a little bit better. Anybody can apply to rezone anything. It doesn't matter if you could apply to rezone any piece of property in the town, and as staff, we'd have to accept it as long as you apply for it correctly and pay the fees per the ordinance. So I wouldn't get bogged down too deep into who the applicant is and the owner is. Basically, what you're looking at right now, is this acceptable zoning? Staff feels it is. That's what we're recommending. And I'll be happy to entertain any more questions.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Brian. That's all.
Ms. Peggy's motion has not been seconded, or? So do we have a motion from the board to approve or disapprove the rezoning request from AR to OI for this property?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Briley made the motion to
I second.
approve.
Yes.
Rondi, second. Any more discussion from the board on the property? All in favor of approving an AR to OI zoning for this property, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Our next item on the agenda, reports from staff.
So I don't have a whole lot for you guys as far as reports go. You see my monthly report in your agenda packet. There's a lot of good stuff in there. The Southwest Bypass Corridor Plan, Land Use Plan, they have wrapped that up. I think they're going to the county commissioners in the next couple of weeks for a public hearing and formal adoption. Once they do that, we'll let them clear that up on their end. Then I'll present it to you guys as a finished product, and then on the council for formal recognition. The storm, I think Don said something about the storm starting off with, but the town was pretty happy the way things went. Obviously, we were spared, but we didn't have any major damage that I'm aware of. The crews were here all night long through Thursday, Friday, Saturday night long, and we're clearing out storm drains, making sure we were having positive drainage. So I don't think any structures, to my knowledge, did not flood. Obviously, we had a little bit of wind damage on some of our town-owned buildings, but other than that, it was free and clear. But other than that, that's really all I got for you guys. If you got anything that you need from me, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And as Peggy said earlier, we do appreciate the minutes, the full package that you're giving us, and it's very well organized, so
Yeah,
thank you for that.
Don for doing that. So Don's the one responsible, so I'll give credit due where credit
Thank you, Don.
due.
Pictures are better than words.
That's right. Some of us are visual looking, right? Any more comments from the board for this month? We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone who wants to stay can stay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you
Don.
all for tuning in tonight.
You did good, Dawn.
Oh, yes. I have faith in you. Yes.
I have to write down the rules of parliamentary procedure when I do something.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can never remember.
Well, it's been a while.
Understand your confusion, but that's how the owner has to sign the paperwork. So, I could apply for a rezoning for your property, but you'd have to sign the paperwork, because the owner has to verify that they're agreeing.
Yeah,
to it.
but